Welcome to Crime Squad's first ever episode. I'm your host, Natasha. Happy New Year, 2023. Can I still say that, or is it weird when we're 11 days in? Well, Happy New Year nonetheless, and thanks so much for listening. And after this episode, I hope you'll join the squad by subscribing so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. Today's episode is the case of Lucas Shortreed, a cold case hit and run that absolutely devastated an entire community in Ontario. Okay, squad, let's get into it. Lucas Shortreed had no idea that the party he attended at a friend's house on October 10th, 2008 would be his last. At around midnight on October 11th, an hour into Lucas's walk home from the party, a car sped toward him and struck him. The driver didn't stop, and this hit and run would prove to be fatal. Lucas Shortreed was born on January 23rd, 1990. He lived with his family in Fergus, Ontario. Fergus is a township within Wellington County. As of 2016, the population of Fergus was approximately 20,500, but the town, like most communities in Ontario, is growing. From everything I've researched, Lucas would always be ready with a smile and a laugh for anyone he met. He is remembered as being a gentle giant and a class clown who would gladly brighten anyone's day. Lucas's mother, Jody, shared a memory of Lucas. She had put him down for his afternoon nap when he was about 2.5 years old. Thinking he was asleep, she went out to mow the lawn, and when she came back into the house, she found Lucas sitting on the kitchen floor. The fridge door was wide open behind him, and in front of him was a loaf of bread, a jar of Cheese Whiz, and a butter knife. He was ready to make a sandwich. His mother fondly recalls that he loved to eat, even at that young age. Lucas's sister Janine created a slideshow of pictures of Lucas's life, and in every photograph I see a happy, smiling, and even silly young boy. Lucas, as a toddler, had a cheeky, toothy smile and a gorgeous head of hair. Lucas, as a young boy growing older, still sports that smile that lights up his whole face. And finally, Lucas, as a teenager, towers over his family members as a tall, good-looking boy and still carries that grin. According to an article in July of 2021 in the Toronto Star, while in high school, Lucas completed a landscaping co-op at a seniors' home called Wellington Terrace. He would work in the gardens with the seniors and was particularly fond of a patient of an elderly man who had Alzheimer's. After Lucas's co-op was complete, he actually put on a dinner party for all of the senior residents he had worked with during that time to thank them all for the opportunity. This absolutely screams of the kind of character Lucas had. Just a genuinely kind person. He was described as having an excellent work ethic. This case was really difficult for me because Lucas is close to my age, and his hometown is about an hour and a half away from where I live in London, Ontario. When I started this episode, I wanted to understand who Lucas was, what he liked, and what others remembered him for. Sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the person behind the tragedy, but I try to always get to know the person so they are never forgotten. I found a Facebook page called RIP Lucas Shortreed. It was started when Lucas was tragically taken, and the comments are still being posted to this day. I read every single message and found myself feeling all the emotions with this one. I can feel the love from all his friends and family and the posts they made in the group. Lucas liked rap music, specifically Wu-Tang. In fact, a lot of his friends remind me of my own friends growing up. Same music taste, same carefree attitude, same recreational activities like going to concerts, smoking pot, and drinking cans of Bud. Lucas was obviously very loved by many people. Stories and memories written in the group paint him as someone who could always bring a smile to your face, and someone who loves family and friends unconditionally. He liked to keep things light and have fun. He wasn't shy to give affection to those he loved, especially his sister. And at the age of 18, he was on a whole new path. High school had ended, and it was time to start thinking about the real world and his place in it. Tragically, Lucas would never progress past the age of 18, and life would forever be changed the weekend of Thanksgiving, 2008. October 10th, 2008. Someone was throwing a party in Alma, Ontario. Alma is a small rural community with a small population. It belongs to Mapleton Township in Wellington County. Around 125 kilometers west of Toronto, I can see the town's charm based on a photo online I found. There's a wood frame sign at the side of the road that says "Welcome to Alma," and then underneath, "Population growing." For reference, Statistics Canada last published a census for Mapleton Township in 2016. The entire population of Mapleton Township was 10,527 people. But you also have to know that Mapleton Township is made up of many communities. The largest is the village of Drayton, with a population of approximately 1,900 people. Other communities include Alma, Bosworth, Dobbinville, Glenallen, Goldstone, Holland, Lebanon, Moorfield, Parker, Quarrendale, Riverbank, Rothsay, Spruce Green, Sturton, Wyandotte, and Yatton. That's a lot of names and not a lot of people. So it's safe to say it's not densely populated and should be, by all accounts, a safe community, and a tight-knit community as well. According to CTV News Kitchener, Jesse Matthews was a friend of Lucas's. Jesse and Matthew met in 2003 and became very close because they had so much in common. They would bond over drinks and their love of fishing. Jesse recalls Lucas as, quote, "a happy, outgoing kid full of laughter," end quote. It was only natural that Lucas, when invited to the party in Alma, would ask Jesse to go out as well. Jesse went, and the evening was spent with friends. When it came time for people to go home, Jesse and friends had arranged a ride for Lucas. For some reason, Lucas wasn't happy with this offer and decided instead he'd walk the 14 kilometers home. For any listeners in the US, 14 kilometers is the equivalent of 8 miles. It was around 11 p.m. and Lucas had a long walk ahead of him. It isn't known why Lucas decided to walk the lonely stretch of highway. In fact, his mother Jody recalled she had left him cab money at the house for him to cab home from the party, but he didn't end up taking the money. Wellington Road 17 is a very rural area, and in many rural communities, there isn't lighting on the roads. Alma is mostly a farm town, so not very populated. It would have taken Lucas almost 3 hours at a quick pace, according to Google Maps, to reach his home from the party. Lucas began his trek on Wellington Road 17 toward Highway 6, where he'd turn right and continue the journey home. But he wouldn't even make it to Highway 6. An hour or so into his walk, a lone vehicle driving on Wellington Road 17 toward Highway 6 slammed into Lucas from behind. Lucas was thrown to the ground with debris from the vehicle around him. It is unknown if the driver stopped, but even if they did nothing to help. Lucas was left on the side of the road to die. Another motorist was driving by about 20 minutes after the fatal collision and stopped immediately to try to help, but it was too late. Minutes after midnight on October 11th, 2008, Lucas Shortreed was transported to hospital and pronounced dead. The community was in complete shock. How could this have happened? How could someone have hit a 230-pound teenager and not stop to help? In the days that followed, nobody came forward. The vehicle was identified by police as being similar to a white Dodge Neon, manufactured in the year 1995 through 1997. Residents would keep a lookout for the car, but nothing would be found. The damage to the vehicle would have been very obvious. The impact of the vehicle hitting Lucas would have severely damaged the windshield, smashed the right passenger window and right front fender. Where was the car? What was the explanation? On October 20th, 2008, police released a reenactment video of the brutal hit and run in the hopes it would trigger someone to come forward. Meanwhile, Lucas's family was devastated and still in shock that he had been ripped away from their lives in one of the cruelest ways possible. Thanksgiving weekend for this family would never be the same, as it would always be shrouded in a cloud of darkness. Instead of a happy day with friends and family gathering together, it would become a day of mourning and loss. Like many small communities, I'm sure there was a lot of talk and speculation. Was the driver drunk? Was there a passenger in the car? Was it a local community member who was ashamed or scared to come forward? Police were certain the driver was local. Based on the evidence and the extensive damage, the car would not have been able to drive very far after the impact. They also suspected the driver was drunk, perhaps even driving home from Kitchener's Oktoberfest, which happened to be taking place that same weekend. The Ontario Provincial Police, also known as the OPP, offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the driver in Lucas's case. Gerald Shortreed, Lucas's grandfather, paid for a banner advertising the reward on a transport truck owned by Armstrong Trucking in Arthur, Ontario. The truck would drive across the province, and the hope was that someone out there would see it and come forward with new information. The same advertisement used on the truck was erected on a billboard on Highway 6. The billboard space was graciously donated by Kevin Goodfellow of Fergus, Ontario, where Lucas lived. In a release statement from the police regarding these measures to remind the public of this tragic and unnecessary fatality, Scott Smith, Commander Inspector of Wellington OPP Detachment, said, quote, "You need to know that we will not give up on our quest to find the person responsible for this death. Understandably, as the driver or as the person with direct knowledge, you are scared. But I remind you that you have a legal and moral obligation to do the right thing and come forward." Lucas was a young man just entering the prime of his life. He was a son, grandson, and a friend to many. I am asking everyone, the public, those involved, to help the family bring some closure to this tragic turn of events. End quote. The police had exhausted all leads and were unable to locate the vehicle in question. Repair shops had no record of a vehicle coming in for repair. And still, the years ticked by. 2 years, then 5, then 10. Lucas was constantly remembered, and posts continued to pour in on the memorial Facebook group. Lucas's sister Janine posted on the 10-year anniversary. She shared the video she had made of the slideshow of Lucas's life and had this to say, quote, "It's taken me about 10 years to get back to the person I was building at the time of Lucas's death. To find joy in painting, crafting, and visiting Fergus again. A tragedy like this isn't something you can get over. You learn to move on, but you are never the same person again. Our family has never been the same since the loss of Lucas, nor could it be without his presence. I don't know that finding the person that caused our paths to be irrevocably changed would offer my family closure or justice. But I feel like it is an unfair thing for someone to get away with murdering my brother. So when I think about the injustice in that Lucas's crime has still not been solved, that someone got away with hitting and killing my brother on Thanksgiving weekend 10 years ago, it is not just the specific crime I feel we have not received justice for, or for the loss of Lucas's life. It is for the ripple effect that is caused in the lives of his friends and family. I want justice for how this has fractured my family. I want justice for everyone that has been affected by having Lucas taken away from us so suddenly at such a young age. I want justice for the lost time, the decade of ruined Thanksgivings, and for the life I will never get to see Lucas live. I want justice for all the hurt and pain this murder has caused so many people to suffer over the past decade." End quote. Janine could not have summed this up any better. The post is extremely tragic and emotional, but all of it is true. When something like this happens, the ripple effect that follows is like salt in the wound every time the anniversary rolls around. As of 2022, the case has been cold for 14 years, but all of this would change on September 21st, 2022, when 2 people were taken into police custody. "14 years, 728 weeks, 5,094 days. This is the amount of time Lucas's killer has gone free. On September 21st, 2022, police executed a search warrant at a local residence in Mapleton Township. The address, located at Side Road 21, was only one road north of Wellington Road 17, where Lucas was struck and left to die alone. Police announced they had located the vehicle, which has been removed from the property and will be processed for evidence. 2 residents of the home were taken into custody as well. David Alexander Halliburton, age 55, was charged with the following offenses: failing to stop at the scene of an accident involving bodily harm or death and obstructing justice. Anastasia Marie Halliburton, age 53, has been charged with accessory after the fact and obstructing justice. Both have also been charged with having knowledge of an unauthorized possession of a weapon and careless storage of a weapon or ammunition. Keep in mind, these are strictly allegations that have yet to be proven in court. Police have indicated that despite the charges, they are still continuing to investigate and ask that anyone who may have tips or information contact OPP at 1-888-310-1122. You can also contact them online at www.opp.ca/reporting. If you'd like to remain anonymous, contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-8477. You may be eligible for a cash reward of up to $2,000 for any tips you come forward with. The couple made their first court appearance in the city of Guelph on September 22nd. They were released from custody later that day, and the pair were granted bail. Publication bans are now in place, and police haven't divulged much to the family. One thing is for sure, the family had never expected the perpetrator to be local. Somehow, it also makes it worse, knowing they drove by the billboard with Lucas's picture on it on a regular basis, as it was not far from where they lived. More details will obviously come out after the court case is concluded, but for now, the family is left with a bittersweet feeling. Progress has been made, and Lucas's killer has been identified, but now they will have to relive what happened on that October night as details emerge. So that's going to do it for today's Story Squad. I will post pictures on my Instagram at Crime Squad Pod. If you have a case you'd like to hear, shoot me a direct message on Instagram at Crime Squad Pod or by email at crimesquadpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll join us next week. Subscribe to join the squad and stay up to date on all the episodes. Stay safe and be kind to each other.